Okay, guys, we are going to be live in a few seconds. Collaborate.
Hello and a very warm welcome to all of you. My name is 𝙄𝙣𝙩𝙚𝙧𝙣𝙖𝙡 and I'm a part of SCOLAR Network. We are all gathered here today to celebrate International Women's Day. First of all, I'd like to wish all the beautiful women and the women linked to the men who have tuned in today to our event a very happy International Women's Day. International Women's Day is celebrated globally on 8th of March, which is today, in the honor of the remarkable contribution of women to our society and also bringing to light the issue of gender equality. Oh. I just wanted to check if the mic was on. Although women have been carrying the burden of balancing multiple roles since the start of time, but 21st century has brought about a great awareness in the role a woman plays in the development of a healthy society. So on this day, it is important to show the women in your life how much appreciative you are for everything they're managing for you and for the society around. Let's begin today's event by knowing a bit more about the associations who made today's event possible. The event today was co-organized by SCOLAR Network and Chadari Project. SCOLAR Network is an association championing youth leadership and is aimed at bringing together the young leaders from the 18 Shanghai Cooperation Organization countries. Our co-organizers, Chadari Project, which is a storytelling platform for the Afghan women to share their stories with the world. If you are interested in knowing more about these associations, make sure to follow the social media handles of these associations, which will be shared at the end of the event and also in the chat section, where you're free to put forward your questions directed towards the panelists. And moving on, I am so privileged and so honored to be sharing this evening with the incredibly amazing women who are a part of the panel today. But for you to be able to hear more about their accomplishments and their work, I would like to welcome to floor founder of Chadari Project, Ms. 𝙄𝙗𝙗, who's from Afghanistan, and she was the first Shoresman scholar from Afghanistan in Tsinghua University. 𝙄𝙗𝙗 writes on the promotion of women's rights in outlets such as Afghan Women's Writing Project, the Anum Project, and Star Educational Society's Interstellar Bulletin newspaper and blogs for United Nations Women and 𝐺𝑒𝑛𝑒𝑣𝑎 Life. She also volunteers widely with organizations like Every Woman Treaty, where she works on the first ever international treaty on violence against women. She's passionate about women's economic empowerment and eliminating the single story about her home country, Afghanistan, by representing Afghanistan on national and international platforms and promoting the unheard experiences of Afghan people. She also encourages young Afghans for gender equality through her motivational speeches on various platforms. So without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, please welcome to floor Ms. 𝙄𝙗𝙗𝙗. 𝙄𝙗𝙗, are you here with us? You have to unmute yourself.
Can you hear me?
Yes, yes, we can.
Thank you so much, 𝙄𝙗𝙗, for the nice introduction. Hello, everyone. First of all, happy International Women's Day to all the wonderful, beautiful women in this room. Thank you for all our panelists for joining in. And we really appreciate that you took the time out of your busy schedules and then you joined us in this important discussion today. It is very important to have this important discussion today because it includes powerful, inspiring women in leadership positions from around in their communities. I would like to start the discussion by giving some information about my organization, Chadari. Chadari Project is a storytelling platform to show the stories of Afghan women across the world. We are working on women empowerment projects and gender equality through different programs such as the Afghan Women Diaries, and we also teach public speaking courses to the Afghan youth. And also we organize events, global storytelling events, such as the one that we are having now. Without further ado, I would like to continue by introducing or giving a brief introductions of each of our panelists that we have with us today. So I will start off by introducing Alina Abdrakhmanova. Alina Abdrakhmanova is a director and founder of the Geneva Business School in Kazakhstan. Now Alina is actively working on the VR platform, which implements education quality and conducts strategy and development consulting for companies in Kazakhstan. And Alina became the first female champion of the television intellectual game leader of the 21st century in the history of the program. Alina received a grant to study at the American Graduate School of Business, Switzerland. After completing the bachelor's program in 2 years, she won a master's degree scholarship to study finance at Geneva Business School, Switzerland. In 2014, Alina opened a representative office of Geneva Business School in Nur-Sultan and Almaty cities of Kazakhstan. And in 2020, Alina was one of the candidates for deputy of Majlis, a lower chamber of parliament from Adal political party. We are also joined by Anum Kamran. Anum Kamran is a serial tech entrepreneur, mostly known as the founder and CEO for 𝑉𝑖𝑐𝑒.𝑝𝑘, an online shopping marketplace, which is enabling micro, small, and medium-sized businesses in Pakistan to make their living sustainable through e-commerce. She was the first female entrepreneur selected for Alibaba e-Founder Fellowship in 2019, and realizing her passion towards e-commerce and community development, she was recently appointed as an Alibaba Asia ambassador. She is the founder of a highly curated support group of e-commerce in Pakistan e-commerce consortium, which is working to strengthen the e-commerce community. She is one of those women entrepreneurs who undid all the negative social conditioning and kept climbing the ladder, which eventually opened the door of success for her. She proved to be a woman with entrepreneurial aspirations who made herself heard. Farida Amiri was born in Afghanistan and lived her childhood as a refugee in one of the neighboring countries. Farida studied English literature at Kabul University, and she is currently doing her second bachelor's degree in political science and public administration at the American University of Afghanistan. In early September 2019, her resilience and passion about peace led her to found an initiative called Peace Friends, a volunteer nonprofit initiative. It is a youth-led and youth-focused initiative that focuses on the young people, particularly young women, to promote peace and harmony in the society and help them become change makers through designing and conducting fruitful programs and events. Peace Friends also aims to raise awareness and promote UNSCR 2020-50 and UNSCR 1325. She also has worked at the office of Her Excellency, the First Lady of Afghanistan, as assistant to advisors of Her Excellency, the First Lady, where she was one of the key organizers of a national peace forum called Afghan Women National Consensus for Peace. In order to make the voices of Afghan women and youth heard, Farida has spoken about the inclusion of young people and women in decision-making and peace processes on national and international platforms, such as the first international symposium on youth participation in peace processes in Finland. Therefore, she was recognized as one of the nominees for 2019 UNDP and Peace Awards. Last but not the least, we have with us Ms. Tian. For the past 10 years, Tian has dedicated herself to international development cooperation, working closely with public and private sectors in China for greater social impact. With her 6 years of experience working in China's Ministry of Commerce, she has a deep understanding and extensive first-hand experience level knowledge of China's foreign aid policies and system. Dee has held progressive positions as the project associate, project manager, and project supervisor on China's foreign aid training programs for government officials from developing countries at the Academy for International Business Officials. She first executed capacity building and knowledge exchange programs in Beijing, receiving delegations globally, and then was promoted to manage the aforesaid programs. In 2018, she carried out the operationalizing and planning for China's national foreign aid, human resources development programs, and plans involving agencies across policy markets at central and provincial levels, think tanks, academia, and industry leaders. The said plan was then passed at the ministerial working meetings at the Ministry of Commerce and the Ministry of Finance. Her network with 𝑘𝒂, amongst other Chinese developing agencies, is wide-ranging and still active in the front line of China's global engagement initiatives like Belt and Road Initiative, South Cooperation. Currently, Dee works at the UN Women China office as a partnership specialist, exploring potential opportunities to influence China's overseas projects to be more in line with the sustainable development goals. We will go with the questions now. We will start off with a general question to all the panelists. And then we'll move on to other questions specifically addressed at each speaker. So the question to all the panelists is that each of you are in leadership positions in business sectors, in the nonprofit world, and community organizations. And given these differences in culture and country-specific needs, and being such a diverse panelists from different corners of the world, what would you define as one key factor that led you to find your passion in your work? So I would like to start with Miss Tian Di.
Thank you, Svetna, and thank you to all the amazing panelists. I'm honored to speak with all of you today, and also happy International Women's Day to all of you, the powerful, strong women, young leaders today. I think it's a brilliant question. I myself would love to answer, try my best to answer, which is what has led me to find my passion. I have to say, my passion in the overall development issues in the world not only not only focus on gender equality, but the broader sustainable development of our society as a whole, came really from a early exposure to the international organizations. Even when I was in the when I was in high school, the 𝑃𝑒𝑎𝑐𝑒 was one of the key, most inspiring events that I've ever took part in. And learning about how concerted efforts from every single nation and every single individual, regardless of your gender, your race, your cultural backgrounds, can come to a tangible outcome or a tangible impact into certain area that's vital to our development of us overall, is something that I found my interest in, and that luckily that passion stayed with me in my later on university degrees in international business law, and then later my work in the development world. I would think that it was although the spark I found in my passion was long historically embedded, but it also takes an element of constant self-aware, self-conscious learning. So throughout my journey, I feel like leadership is also about reinventing yourself, looking at the love that you had, the little spark that you had, you kept so close in your heart, and keep adding fuel, adding firewood onto that little flame and keep it going.
Indeed, I think that's a very crucial of reinventing and like reevaluating yourself. So thank you for sharing that. Miss Alina Abdrakhmanova?
Yes, I'm here. Hello everybody.
So do you want me to repeat the question? So let me repeat that. So the question was that given the differences in culture and country-specific needs, being such a diverse panelist from different corners of the world, so what do you think, like what defines, what is that one factor that led you to find your passion in your work?
Actually, I was thinking about it for the past almost a year because I was sort of in a transition, moving from the industry of education. I tried myself in politics and I moved back to the IT and startup industry. And that was the question that I was asking myself for the past year. And just recently I got an answer. And for me, the answer is not only passion, but the multiplier effect that the product or the service that you have is making on your customers, not only by generating value in terms of money, but actually generating value of changing something in their lives and also having multiplier effect on this. So this is something that drives me all the time. And I realize that it's much more important than just having a good product, than just having a good service or building up a corporation with employees and et cetera, et cetera. So for me, it's about, it is about having multiplier positive effect, not only on customers, but on other people, on the society in general.
Great. I think that's what we all of us in this room, we share in common, is that we actually give back to our communities and we care about our communities more than, like, as you mentioned, like earning money or like having this. So thank you for that. And Farida, Miss Farida Amiri, would love to hear from you.
Thanks so much. Hello, everyone, and happy International Women's Day. And thank you so much for having me and giving the platform for us to share our insights and our experiences as well. So referring to the question, despite or regardless of the, regardless of focusing on the societal level of, I would say, factors, I would rather to go more into the personal and I would say family level or family-based context. So I would like to give, the huge or the majority of the credit towards my passion or about my passion about what I have done so far to my mom. I do understand that this answer might be a bit surprising because though my mom is an uneducated woman, she has always somehow encouraged me, and she has always been, the partner. She has always been my partner in terms of sharing my plans, in terms of somehow asking her for some advices, or I would say any another ideas or insights. So she is more passionate in terms of what I have done or what I will be doing, because she did not have that opportunity. So that's why she has always been performing not only as my mom in terms of giving me love, giving me care, but also in terms of giving me so many advices in terms of, my career, my education. So, to somehow sum this up or to say it in a very short way, I would rather to give, all the, not all, but the majority of the credit to my mother, to my mom. So, because she sees, her past, that she could not do anything to me, from me. So somehow in some cases, she sees me as her mirror, or she sees me as her own future as well. So this is one of the very important, not only the one, but one of the very important and extremely important factors in terms of what I have been doing in my career life and also in my academic life. Thank you.
Thank you so much for sharing that. I think we like, as human beings, we always need like support, and I'm really glad that your mom is always by your side supporting you. I think, and I can totally understand like how you say like she's uneducated but still she's passionate about education. I think most of the older generation of Afghanistan have the same case of like being passionate for education because they didn't have that opportunity to do that. So I'm glad. Miss Anum Kamran.
Yeah, hi everyone. Thank you so much for having me here, and I'm feeling really overwhelmed to meet all of these wonderful ladies and hearing about their successes. So hats off to all of you. And regarding your question, passion part, so I think for me, passion is something which is been there as a default in me, where I was able to empower. I was always wanted to empower and enable people in my circle, even when I was during my study period. And this passion actually aligned with my vision, which is to empower society with technology. So if you have your passion aligned with your vision, this is something which keeps you going. And this is something for me which drives me every single day, because I know what my vision is, and I know my passion is actually aligned with my vision. And I really want to empower and enable the society every single day, be it any of my companies, be it any of my community work. So everything around me is around the empowerment and enabling of the society. So, yeah.
Great, indeed. I think the feeling empowered and feeling once you're empowered yourself, you giving hands to others and empowering others is a key, I think, one of the key factors of like being a community leaders in the community. So now we will start with the questions directed at each panelist. So I'll start with asking questions from Ms. Alina Abdrakhmanova. So you are very successful in your career, and but despite that, you are facing so many challenges, personal challenges, and I'm sure many of our guests would love to hear that, of like being a single mom and then working at the same time in the business world. How do you manage of these two things, of raising a child, which is very difficult, a very difficult thing to do, and then at the same time being successful in both, in managing the business and being successful in that? So we would love to hear from you.
Thank you, Sveta, for your question. Indeed, it is a full-time job to be a mom, and it is more than a full-time job to be an entrepreneur. And it's good to have a support. And those women who have their support, like family, husbands, etc., they're very lucky. But unfortunately, we have many cases when our families don't go as we planned. And this is a new norm in the 21st century. And from that side, I would like to point out two challenges that usually, let's say, single moms face. First one is the challenge that you are not sure how you will sustain your child, how you will sustain your family, and you can only count on yourself. And from that side, of course, you have to accept help from all the sides. For example, if your parents can help, you shouldn't deny it. You have to learn how to delegate certain responsibilities, like having nannies, drivers, assistants, as long as you can afford it. If not, then you should get this help from your family. But the most important is the emotional side, because usually you start asking questions from yourself. Did I make a right decision? You start blaming yourself for not spending the most of your time with your child because you have to work and you have to, let's say, earn. And from there, I would like to say to all the ladies who are in a similar position, stop blaming yourself. You are as good mom as you can be, and you should say thank you, and you should cheer yourself up for that. And your child, with the time, will understand how much work you had to do in order to raise a child properly. That's one thing. And the second thing, it's not about the quantity of time that you're spending, it's about the quality of time that you're spending. So if you have a chance to spend a weekend with your children, stay with them. Don't watch your smartphone, don't check up your emails, don't think about the work. If you have a limited time with your children, spend it 100% with them. And maybe that will somehow, of course, it will not compensate 100%, but let's just try to make the best out of the circumstances that you have. So that's what that's the message that I would like to pass.
This is great. I think the issue of like quality over quantity is a very important issue, and we all of us, like even like spending time with our families, we have to understand that thing that is valuable. Another question that I would love to ask you is that you are in this leadership position, and you are in in Kazakhstan, so in a different, so it may have like a different societal barriers. So would love to have your input about the existing barriers that prevent more women from attending or like being in a leadership position in Central Asia, like in general.
Here also I would like to focus on two sides. Let's say the first one is a normal situation when a woman is raised in a normal family, has access to education, and in Central Asia and in most of the countries, women do have a proper access to the education and to start their career. And the problems that she faces, they start after she builds up the family, because she doesn't have the support of your family. And this is more of a cultural aspect. But the other aspect that I would like to point out as a barrier is something that I faced very closely during my political experience. When I was a candidate for deputy, we were running around the country and seeing a lot of women who don't have the resources that we have, let's say in the capital, in different, on international arena. And I saw that the major problem that is in Central Asia, and I think in many, many countries of the western part, of the eastern part of the world, is the domestic violence. Many women are facing domestic violence, and this is a very big topic that probably requires another session, another separate session on this. And the problem is that the law doesn't protect women properly from the domestic violence. For example, in Kazakhstan, if you are a victim of domestic violence, the aggressor part, your, let's say, husband or your partner can only get the administrative punishment. And of course, that creates a lot of problems for women. And as a result, they cannot even think about having career education because they're threatened for their own life, for their mental health, and for the health of their children. And I think if we're together here, women who are in leadership position, who are trying to change the world, if we put more emphasis on preventing domestic violence, on fighting them, not only from the legal side, but from educational side, and saying to women, you have many, many opportunities, don't tolerate domestic violence, we have to fight it, we have to support each other, many women will be empowered, not only to start their career, but also to reach certain high levels of it.
Yes, thanks a lot for sharing that. I think that's a very, as you said, like it's a global issue, but I feel like because having I grew up and now I live in Kyrgyzstan, so it's also in Central Asia, and I can feel like there's a lot of like issues and around this, especially during COVID. Yes. And moving on to Ms. Anum Kamran. So you are a tech entrepreneur. I think that term is still, I would say, new in like most of the, it's something new in the world, and like let alone like South Asia, like countries like Afghanistan and Pakistan and like India, and I think that must be so amazing. And I think that's amazing how you are you became so empowered. And now you're empowering others in this area, which is very new, very something where in this field mostly men are doing, or like how the society thinks are fit. So I would love to ask, like, the question is that how is the ecosystem around the e-commerce and tech entrepreneurship in Pakistan in general?
All right, thank you for asking me this question. So in Pakistan, e-commerce is still in emerging stage. We are far behind as compared to other countries, but still I believe we are on the right track because we have all the positive indicators. We are the 5th largest population in the world, and we have growing number of broadband and internet penetration every single day. And another positive indicator is the results which we have received during the pandemic. Every single e-commerce platform in Pakistan have seen enormous growth during pandemic. We have seen a number of significant first-time shoppers. So yes, there are all the positive indicators which is taking e-commerce in Pakistan to the right level. And the second part of your question is about the tech part, right? Yeah, so tech entrepreneurship is really increasing in Pakistan since the startup ecosystem is building up all around the world. We are getting inspirations from different countries like China and USA. Silicon Valley is one of the great, learning platform from where we are learning every single day, and graduates from the universities are jumping into the entrepreneurship. And instead of looking for employment right after their graduation or looking for jobs 9 to 5 time, they are trying to pursue their career into some entrepreneurship kind of scene, because they are very much passionate to solve some sort of problem of the country, of the society, and for that they are developing and creating tech solutions, which is significantly increasing tech entrepreneurship culture in Pakistan. So, yeah.
So as a follow-up to that question is that, so how, so because this is an emerging field, and how receptive is the society of the women in tech in general in Pakistan?
All right, so initially it was not very much receptive actually. Like Alina have shared their cultural and political situation. Same is with our country as well, because we are kind of in same part of the world, the eastern part, and initially females in our country used to face a lot of hurdles, barriers during their careers. But for now, I think since we have a lot of role models, many women are coming in the tech field and they are doing some really amazing work. And I think tech is something which can help females especially to continue their career, because tech does not require you to go out for the 9 to 5 grind. You can manage your business from your home as well. You can manage your business within limited resources as well. So there are a lot of things which a tech entrepreneur can handle. So I think from past couple of years, we have received a really great support from the industry, from male allies, and from the culture as well. And since we have a number of role models, so the girls coming up on the tech field, they can look up to those role models. And in between, when we were not heard actually, and in between today's era, we need to raise our voice. We need to make a noise. We are here. We know how to do these things, and we need to be on the stage. We need to be on panel. But I think now's the time when we have been heard already and we have been recognized. And in Pakistan, there are a number of conferences and panel discussions where they actually, appreciate the female presence, and they recognize the efforts which is being put in the tech industry by the females.
Yes, thank you for sharing that. It's great to see the progress that has been made in the women in tech field in Pakistan. And Ms. Farida Amiri, you have participated in a lot of and organized a lot of conferences when you were working in the office of Her Excellency, the First Lady of Afghanistan. And so one of the big and major key conferences that you organized was Afghan Women National Consensus for Peace. As peace is something that, it's been a year since the Afghan peace process is going on, and there's a lot of talks around that. So what were the key message of the Afghan women in the framework of that conference, and of the women and young girls when it comes to their role in the Afghan society and the peace process in general?
Thank you so much for the question, and I think this is a very important question. So in terms of what have been the messages of Afghan women when it came to the peace process or any decision-making process like the peace talks. So before referring to their messages, so I would rather to highlight on the key outcomes of the, I would say, program or the event or the conference, I would say. So I can divide the outcomes into three different, I would say, three different phases. So the one can be, I mean, prior to the event, and the one can be present-oriented outcome, I mean, during the event, and the third can be also, I mean, after the event, or after the event, it can be. So prior to the event, so it was a very good exposure, not only to me as one of the key organizer of the event, but it was also a very good experience and also exposure in terms of being involved in the decision making, like peace process, not only within their own community, I mean women from the villages or different provinces, but they have also been part of the event within the, I would say, executive branch of the government, meaning the presidential palace. So they had the chance, or we gave them the chance to be exposed to the, I mean, to one of the very important process, and also to the one of the very important branches of the government. So they had the chance to visit the people inside the palace and also the palace itself. So it was a very good exposure, and it was a very good, I would say, experience for the women who came from the villages, from the different provinces of Afghanistan. And I do believe that they did not have the same chance, I mean, before 2018, or I mean the early 2019 that the event took place. So this event totally, I would say, took place within 7 months, and we could cover every corner of the country and every province and at the majority of the villages. So the women who have previously been deprived of being part of such events or such a process, so they had the chance this time to be part of or to be included in such a events. And in terms of, I would say, in terms of the event, I mean, present-oriented outcome of the event, it was a very good opportunity for the women from different provinces to be engaged within themselves and also with the people in the leadership positions, particularly the women. So, I mean, since the event included and somehow invited the president himself, and of course, Her Excellency the First Lady was of course part of the event, and also some other government and non-government organizations as a, I would say, key partner, or as a, I would say, the organizations who cooperated and who supported the event. So at the same time, they could be engaged with, I mean, with the women who were, who were with the same level of knowledge or background, and people in the leadership position, or I would say decision-making process. But in terms of the after the event, how the event, how the event has been successful in terms of the inclusion of women, particularly young women, in the process, in the peace process. So I would say that since some committees was formed, from those women who were part of this event, so they have been performing as a contact, I would say, as a contact people among the ordinary people from different parts of the country, and with the, I would say, with the circles of decision makers, people, mainly the negotiating team. So they have been doing so many follow-ups activities, and also being engaged with the people who are at the table with the Taliban. And in terms of their message, so I would rather to share my own experience when we were conducting the event in different provinces. So I would rather to reflect on the messages we have been receiving. So since I was supposed to and I was responsible to receive those messages, to summarize them, to analyze them, and also to report them back to my supervisors. So there have been huge messages with huge differences. So the very huge difference that I noticed during the event was that, I mean, a woman from, for instance, from a province like Bamyan, somehow tried to convey the message that peace means freedom for them, or right to education, I mean, right to work. So, however, I mean, a message from another province, which unfortunately was to some extent dominated by the Taliban, was not to have the dead body of their beloved ones, particularly their sons or their husbands, in front of their door. So this was, I mean, there was huge differences in terms of their messages. So, I mean, within a single context. So we have been, and we received messages, I mean, different messages with different voices and with different, I would say, recommendations and suggestions. So to conclude, so it was a very different experience to myself, which somehow led me to go through the journey of peace building, and to other women as well. And I had the chance to meet those women from different parts of the country as well, and hear their voices in these terms. Thank you.
Thanks for sharing that, and I think it is very, very important to include the local women or the rural women in the peace process, because I think their voices matter as well. And most of the time, as we know, and through our experience and through all the years, like, all the decision makers are only the women who are living in urban areas. And I think that is something that we are working, and I'm glad that it has been helpful. So you have been, so that, as you mentioned, is that kind of that conference, or that the experience of working with the women from the all the provinces kind of motivated you to become a peace builder and working on your own projects, which is called Peace Friends. So the question is, my second follow-up question would be, what does Peace Friends initially really mean to you? And how do you see, so it's like a second part of the question, like, how do you see the contemporary Afghan youth and Afghan and young women as compared to, say, like 20 years ago, or before, or during, before like 20 years, or like 30 years ago? Yeah.
Thank you. This is an interesting question. So in terms of the peace friends, so what peace friends mean to me and to people who are part of it. So it is somehow a platform, not only to me, but also to people like me to share their experiences, to share their insights with other, I would say, with other young generation. And also we do believe that in the field of peace building, so providing the platform for dialogue is very important, and it is extremely crucial in terms of promoting the, I would say, social harmony when it comes to the, peace in the societal level, not only, I would say, in the world of politics. So that's why the only, or one of the very prominent and important aim of Peace Friends is to provide the platform, or provide the space for people, particularly for the young women, to somehow be part of the daily dialogue. Not only, I mean, the dialogue for one day and just go home and rest and just forget about that, but also like a chain, or like a series of the dialogue. Referring to the second part of the question, that I think the new generation that we are part of it is, I would say, more alert. We are more alert. We are more, I would say, resilient. And I mean, being alert, being resilient, I mean, our resilience and our passion cannot only be, personal to us, but it is good to somehow give a bit of the credit to the previous generation. I mean, the generation that our parents are part of. So we are more passionate, we are more resilient, and we are very important that we are alert because we had the chance to be exposed to the opportunities not only within the border of the country, but beyond the border of the country. And to be honest, so I'm really hopeful for this generation. Thank you.
Thank you so much. And I completely agree with what you have said about the Afghan youth. I think that's how they are. Like, that's how my message is also through my projects of Chadari. It's like I'm showing the world like the Afghan youth are so passionate and like they are different. And that's how people should know. And I'm glad that you shared as well. Miss Tian, so you're working for you are a community leader and you're working for the Global Shapers Beijing Hubs, and I personally was a part of the Global Shapers Kabul Hub, so I really know how great it is and how the vibe it is. It's a different community feeling when you're among these passionate people. So I'm really curious to know, like, what are some of the main projects for women in Global Shapers Beijing Hub 2, and what do you think can be improved?
Thank you so much, and go Shapers! Yes, I'm the currently vice curator of Global Shaper Beijing Hub 2, and I'm also the incoming curator together with Vika from SCOLAR. Our amazing Vika would be my vice curator, incoming vice curator from running the hub from July 2021 till for a year. So I have a lot of amazing things to say about our hub because I don't know if many of you know that the Global Shaper community is a youth leadership voluntary but we use leadership community that's built on voluntary basis with World Economic Forum's guidance initiative. So to be able to work with such a young, amazing group of leaders myself, it was a privilege. It has been a privilege, and it kept inspiring me and pushing me forward in my own career and also my engagement with the hub. But I think one thing I have to acknowledge that our hub didn't even reach gender parity. That is something that I personally feel is an area of improvement. But with our new hub, we are actually looking at a big, more gender balanced membership chart group that we are very proud of. And in terms of priorities and programs that we're looking at to focus on working on women, which is in line with our vision for the next few years, is that we want to really make the connection with local communities. I think to empower local Chinese women to progress in their career, in their personal life, is something that we try to do, but we haven't gotten a really thought through program that actually targets women and girls as our beneficiaries. And that is something that I would like to personally lead, but I already got a lot of allies stand behind me to work on this initiative together. And amazingly, we do have local community educational project that addresses many of the challenges that women in China face in terms of gender inequality, which is the unequal educational opportunities given to girls, especially women and girls in the rural area, giving them a second chance or giving them extra access to educational opportunities that's enabled by our modern day technology is something that we really want to want to develop on, and that is going to be launched very soon, also with close collaboration with Vika and a few other amazing women shapers. And I think I would also want to resonate with a lot of things that other three panelists have touched upon, gender equality or addressing gender equality in our generation has its own context, regardless of all the respective culture and country context that you already been stated perfectly. There are gender stereotypes that we need to get rid of. There's violence against women and girls we need to really address, and that can be a very huge hindrance of the woman's overall development. And also we need to empower women in the way that speaks to women's demands themselves. So we need someone that dedicate their time and effort to conduct survey, to really thought through their needs and demands and give them the initial awareness to realize their rights and their equal chance to develop. That's something that when we as a hub are going to develop our project together in the coming year, we're going to take all that in, and also with a much more close look at different social groups that's present in China, given it's such it has such huge population to serve.
It is indeed exciting, and I'm excited for your new project, so good luck with that. So you are in a leadership position in your workplace and in the Global Shapers Beijing Hub too. So my second question would be related more to the leadership. So, or you might have seen a lot of women leaders in your life. So what are some of the main challenges you have made observations of women advancing their leadership roles in their careers or in their lives in general?
And that is a brilliant question. Thank you so much for asking this. Like you said, I've seen and worked closely with a lot of women, female leadership role models in my work and in my private life, in my wide contact of people. And I feel like I'm a strong believer of sister power. I feel like when women provide support to each other, it was something different. It's more empathetic. It was more connectable. It's something that my friend, distinct from my friendship with other and connections with the male counterparts. Having said that, I feel like one of the major challenges women have to face, and especially when you're trying to progress in your career or progress in your life, you do need what I would now call a sponsor. It's not only someone that mentors you, but someone really got your back, regardless of the gender of that person, racial, cultural background, no matter what. It's someone that really stands up for you, become your ally, talks about you in different scenarios when you and that sponsor normally interact with. What I mean is that, say, hey, I've got a boss. He can be my mentor. He or she can be my mentor. They are gonna really give a lot of skill upgrades, help me sharpen all my different technical and professional skills. That's great. But that person, if that person, my boss, happened to be my sponsor, then he would actively tell other people about who I am, what I'm doing. And that is something that can catalytically broaden my network and also give me that space to make my volume bigger. Although I talk already pretty loud. Yeah, that's what I feel like. We need to, we've got mentors, we've got amazing mentors already, but who are going to be the one person that's sticking their neck for you, the one that allow you that space to grow, give you the space to make mistakes, the one that are willing to take a bullet for you, essentially, not only on a friendly basis, but also in a social setting, in a professional setting. That is something that I feel remains a challenge. And I really want to build that especially for young women in China, to have that not only mentorship, but sponsorship in their career, to actively advocate for young women's outstanding leadership and advocate for their promotional opportunities and give them that space.
This is amazing, I would say. Like, this is a food for thought for all of us to think about, to reflect in our lives. This is amazing, and about the impact of, as you said, sisterhood and of supporting each other, lifting each other up. So now I have some general, I would love to ask some general questions. So it will be addressed to all the speakers. Yes, so as we all know, like we women, or like in general, like we women cannot get where we want, or like in this life to advance in our careers, in our lives, we always need support. And of course, men play a huge role in our lives. And so my question would be, what was the role of men in your life in helping you achieve your goals and get where you are now? And so the second part of the question would be, do you think that the men are the key drivers to a woman's success? And if you think that's true, then what can be done to encourage more men to be supporters of women? And I'm not sure if it's too many questions, too many parts of the questions. I can repeat that, but it's basically about like men and how, what the role men played in your life, and what can we do about it to like, yeah. So maybe we'll go first with Farida, Miss Farida Amiri.
Thanks so much for choosing me the first one to go through the question. So in terms of the rule, I would say my father, first of all, played a very important role in these terms. Because I do remember that when I was a little girl and when I was a child, so when he came home from a trip, so first of all, he was unpacking the souvenir for us, for the girls. And he was trying to convey the message that I do give the priority to the girls or to my daughters at home. So my father was the one who, first of all, gave me the mentality of the equality between girls and boys, and to some extent also somehow prioritizing the girls even. So, I mean, from the context of my childhood, so my father played a huge role in this term, and in different ways he was somehow trying to promote the gender equality within his family. I mean, first of all, by for instance unpacking the souvenirs, first of all, for us as a girls, and secondly giving us the same chance, the same opportunity as my brothers, for our education, for our career, for our work, or any other opportunities. So I mean, when my father had this mentality, so of course my brother was raised the same, and they followed the same path, and they somehow followed the same method in terms of the promotion of gender equality within the border of the family, within the framework of the household or the family. So I mean, in terms of how we can encourage the men to be, to be our side, or to be a supportive mechanism for the women, I think it is very important to somehow promote the discourse of feminism, in a good way, or in the way that it has to be conveyed. So because I do understand that the discourse of the feminism has been misunderstood, particularly when it comes to the context of Afghanistan. So I think this is one of our major assignment, or one of our major tasks, to help not only women but also men to utilize the true, or I would say the exact meaning or message of the discourse of the feminism. So I think it can help them to somehow find ways how they can help us, or how they can support us. And secondly, I'm very into not excluding men when it comes to gathering like today. So I'm so much in favor of including men when it comes to the women gathering. So I think it is a very good, I would say, idea to include men as well. I mean, having the mixture of both in any gatherings, regardless of the context of the gathering. Thank you.
Indeed, I think like men's involvement and participation in all the women-related issues are crucial, because in most of the context of most of the countries, like Afghanistan, they play a huge role. So they're changing their mentality is this first step to be. Miss Alina Abdrakhmanova.
Thank you. So for me, my situation is very similar with Farida, and the first feminist in my life was my dad, who made sure that I get the right education, that I always believe in my own capabilities and reach to something. But also what is interesting, that my first official employer, the shareholder and the CEO of Geneva Business School in Switzerland, who is originally from Algeria, Dr. Brahim Ghassan, who is now retired. He was like the second biggest feminist in my life, who believed in me when I was 21 years old, and helped me to set up the branch in Kazakhstan. So I think that I'm very lucky that I'm supported with such a very strong men who believe that women should be developing and pursue their goals. And I also agree with Farida that unless we get men involved in feminism and discussing women's rights, and in them being interested and involved in actually raising a new generation of girls who are free, who think differently, nothing will be changed. But we also need to remember that it is also our responsibility, because we are maybe currently mothers or future mothers, and we will be raising next generation of men. We should also bring them up with feminism in their mind, so that the next generation of our sons will be feminists and will also help women to grow. So this is my point. Thank you.
Mm-hmm. This is great. Yeah, so this is a great tip from Alina to this is great of like raising our children with that mentality, because we cannot change the mentality of the previous generation. It is very difficult, but we can, but everything is in our hands in the future generation. So there is some hope. And Miss Anum Kamran, do you want to go next?
Yeah, sure. So I think we don't need men only to support us. If we are on any career path, we need support from every single person around us. But if we are talking specifically about men, so I'm happy to hear from Ms. Farida and Ms. Alina that, and from I would share my experience as well, that we have been empowered from our home. Our fathers are the figures who empowered ourselves firstly, because I'm from a family where we are just two sisters. We don't have any brother. So we have seen our father raising us just like anyone would raise their son. We had no restrictions to go anywhere or to find any education path which we wanted to have. So yes, my father was the first person who empowered me to be a person who I am today. And secondly, my husband is the other supportive pillar which I have, because of his trust and his guidance and his support. I am here, what I am doing. So yes, men have played a real important role in my career. And yes, I would second Ms. Alina's point. I am raising a one who would be definitely respecting women when he'll be an adult guy, and will be a responsible person to provide the due respect, the due rights a woman needs. It is really very important to upgrow the generation which is in our hand. And regarding your second part of the question, which you asked, that are men key drivers, I think no. No one else other than you yourself is the key driver in your career, be it a 9 to 5 or be it an entrepreneurial journey. You yourself is the key driver of anything you are doing. Yes, men or any other person can be a supportive pillar, a supportive network, but key driver is you yourself.
Great, thank you for sharing your thoughts. Miss Tian, you want to go next?
Yeah, sure. And I totally agree with a lot of things that's been said. Again, I feel like regardless of whatever country or whatever cultural context you come from, there are innate nature of things that we share. I feel like in my personal growth, men have played different roles. They could be enablers, they could be discipliners, they could be the reason for defiance. So it was a mixed my feeling for they were all key to my personal growth for sure. But if I have to say that how I view their role is more like they somehow become the reason of me growing, either personally or emotionally. It was them build up my resilience either positively or negatively. I think it's important to have someone that can, which is important to choose someone that you grow together with, not necessarily your life partner, although in my case, I'm lucky enough to have my partner, my husband, to grow together with me for the past 12 years since we know each other and got married. So that growing together in career, in knowing how we view this world, our value, they grow together. But I also want to say that it was also the fact that I had someone as a strict Oriental culture or Asian culture father and grandparents grandfather who gave me that discipline, that the somehow strict rule, setting out rules of my life, gave me the initial that was the bread and butter of my the base tone of my personality, and I'm always remembering that and be grateful for that. So if you ask me just broadly how I see men in my personal life, it was a mixed feeling, and I'm happy with all the family members and friends who are male, who are men or boys in my life. I'm happy and grateful for them to be there. When you talk about when I want to work with work for gender equality or advocate for women's empowerment and leadership, I 100% believe in involving and activating men and boys in our line of work is extremely crucial. As much as we are saying that women need to be empowered, women are entitled to their rights and equal opportunity to develop, we should not leave men out, right? So that was the whole idea behind he for she. A lot of the ideologies, we're not trying to polarize this two huge group of our society. We're trying to combine together. We can't achieve anything without them. So those are my opinions when it comes to, if you ask me how my view of what men and boys are, I love them.
Yes, and he for she initiative is like one of my favorite movements and my favorite initiatives. I think that gives a very important message of like involving men in the process of empowering women. And so my questions, I'm done with my questions, and we have had a great discussion. So now we are moving on to the Q&A session to get some questions from the audience. And so I'm giving the floor to Hala.
Thank you very much, Shweta, for moderating a very inspiring and impactful panel discussion with our panelists. I would like to extend my congratulations to each one of you. Alina, Anum, Tian, Farida, your achievements not just inspire me, but also so many others to work harder, be better, and make a dent wherever we can. Thank you so much for sharing your experience with us today. But before we move on to the Q&A by the audience, we'd like to take a group photo with our panelists to save the memory of the celebration. So if we can have everyone turn their cameras on so that we can take a beautiful group picture together. No pressures, but it would look much nicer as a group photo if everyone has their cameras on. So Team Scholar, are we ready to take the picture? Vika, are you taking it?
Yes, sure. I can do it. Yay, what's up? Hi. Hi, Vajit, Madina. Good to see you guys. Okay, so get ready. Oh no, Rashid is turning on the camera. Wonderful, thank you. All right, 1, 2, 3. One more. 1, 2, 3. Okay, thank you. We're done.
Wonderful, wonderful. Thank you very much, all of you, for turning your cameras on and showing us your beautiful faces. Now let's open the floor for all of the questions from the audience. In case you feel too lazy to type the questions in the chat section, feel free to unmute yourself and ask the question from our panelists yourself. Otherwise, put the questions in the chat section, and don't forget to mention the name of the panelist you want to direct your question towards, so that we can ask the panelists that question. I'll check the chat section if you have any questions. Otherwise, we'll move towards the questions that were asked at the time of registration. So I think I'll start with those. The first question was asked by Luan Wang. And the question is, how can women truly be independent? And how should they respond to sexism at work? So I am leaving it open for any of the panelists to answer the question.
I could go try to answer that question.
Oh, sure. We love people who initiate.
I love that question because it was so relevant and so true in real world. We're not only talking about rosy pictures, how we're only needing to do the best of what we can be. Sometimes we need to deal with the negative social norms or harmful business practices that hinders the development of women. So in that regard, I feel like there are a lot of, again, like there's a lot of things, a lot of different policy makers, the business owners, your the colleagues you work with, that work labor forces, and yourself is a coexisting problem that everyone needs addressing. From the policy making process, that is something that there should be regulation law in place to prevent and readdress workplace sexual harassment and discrimination. And that is something that the world is pressing ahead with the signing of the Beijing Platform for Action to end all types of discrimination against women. And that is a convention that's taken by all world leaders some half century ago, even more, and we haven't realized that. But then we are making progress. Let's not be disheartened. There are progress made in different countries, law, regulation, guidelines in place for legal forces to take that lead, to give that safeguarding measures to prevent and readdress sexual harassment and discrimination against women at workplace. And then it's corporates, their own responsibility. We are trying to provide them with conscience. Right? If the corporate themselves, they are discriminative in their process of recruiting, in their process of promotion, then obviously they need to have a conscience, but also, again, there should be an independent institution, either is the HR department or is a labor union in place to keep them in check, keep the employers accountable when there is suspected discrimination and gender inequality happening at workplace, and let alone sexual violence or sexual harassment. Then when it comes to the labor force itself, the colleagues that you work with, of course, they should also, it comes with public awareness, how we are addressing workplace, where we're eliminate how we are as a human race, or how are we perceiving the equal rights and opportunity to develop between men and women. Those are something that a lot of amazing NGOs, international NGOs, civil society, civil organization society, CSOs, they're doing an amazing job in advocating in that, and we do see progress already made. Although there are really, really harsh realities we have to sometimes face, but then let's keep hope in that. For employer, the woman ourselves, of course, the process of realizing this type of cases has happened to me. First, not to blame yourself. Second, seek help. That help should not only come from your close families, but should also come from all the access of legal support that you need, essential services you need, and also come to psychological counseling to limit the negative impact that those type of discrimination or sexual harassment that happen to you. I know it's hard to say, but I do feel like it's hard to do. It's always harder to do than said, but then please reach out. And that's the only advice I could give to whomever, sadly, to the victims of those type of discrimination and sexual harassment. Reach out, and hopefully by the time you reach out, all of us who are working in gender equality area have already provided you enough support that you can reach out to.
Very, very nicely put. Indeed, we need to raise our voice against sexism wherever it is happening, whether it's happening at workplace or outside of work context. Can we have Anum share experience on this topic?
Yeah, sure. So I've never been a part of any other organization because I have never been an employee. So I will share my experience as an employer, which I have created, the environment I have created in my company. So we do have 50-50 balanced gender in our company. We have 50% male, 50% female, and we do have open kind of floor where every person can talk easily about the issues they are facing within the company or even outside the company. So we have certain sessions or discussion timelines during the week or over the weekend where we discuss all such issues. And luckily, we have not seen any kind of sexism or sexual abuse from any of our female employees. But still, we are very much open to every single of our employees, where they can actually come directly to us and share whatever they are going through, or if they have faced any issue from the peer or something like that. So I think giving your employee an ownership and giving your employee an open store where they can actually speak up about the issues they are facing. It can help them empower, and it can help them be vocal about the challenges they are facing. So if we treat them like our peers, like someone who is very important to the organization, they will feel comfortable to work within the organization. So I think that's very important for the employer to provide an environment where female and male both feel comfortable to work with, and make an environment where male and female actually try to work together, not in their segregated areas that I am a man, I'm not going to report a woman. If I am a woman, I have to report a man. This is not something which we are working on. We have quite equal roles for male and female.
Thank you very much for sharing the other perspective, which is from the end of the employers, and hats off to you for creating a safe space for the people who are working with you. Next, we'd like to hear Alina's uptake on this question.
The question of harassment is pretty complicated because recently we were discussing it on one of our streams on Instagram with the NGO that is working on including harassment for legal punishment. And here we need to take into account that there are different levels of harassment, and the problem is that it's very difficult to prove that something happened. And as long as there is no formal punishment from the law side or from the employer side, it will just not work. I mean, we can do a lot of things on educational level. We can educate people about the fact that it's unacceptable to break other people's borders, etc., etc. But it's very hard to change people who are adults. And in this way, only the procedures, the proper procedures will be working. And sometimes we are given the examples of US, when if somebody tells you that you're beautiful at the workplace, this person can lose the job. And for example, in our country, it is something that people say that it's too much. But my personal belief is that it's not too much. I come to a workplace not to get compliments. I come to workplace to get my job done. And I don't want to hear any compliments. I don't need them because I came there to work. And I think that's what we should also, as previous speakers mentioned, that we should implement it in the workplace, and we should be very strict and intolerable about it. And only there we can create the safe place everywhere in the office, not just in some place.
Thank you, Alina, for those wise words. Now we'd like to hear from Farida about how women can truly be independent, and how should they fight sexism at workplace or outside of workplace.
Thanks so much. So I would rather to share my experience in my workplace. So, I mean, it happened in many meetings, I would say the formal meetings, that the majority of the people, regardless of their gender, somehow came to us as the government, I would say as a government organization, to somehow get a project. I mean, they have, not all of them, but I faced with, or I encountered with some of those organizations or group of people that they tended to somehow use the use the title of women empowerment as an instrument in order to get fund, in order to get a project. So I mean, to be honest, this disturbed me mentally, emotionally a lot, and it disturbed me a lot that I cannot even describe that to which level or to which I would say a degree. So I mean, what we did that I mean, somehow we questioned, and I would rather went with so many questions. So why? And I mean, when we ask so many questions and those unexpected questions, so I mean, there can be some ways in order to somehow find the true intention of the person who wants to somehow get the fund or the project just only to, I mean, for the purpose of women empowerment. Though the only purpose is not the empowerment of the women, just the purpose is sometimes to only get the fund or to get the, I would say, the project. So this has been extremely disturbing to me, that they have been using the title of the women, the title of the women empowerment, just to get the project, not to empower the women. So with all respect to all the organizations or the people who have been part of the initiatives, programs, or projects which aim to empower or somehow support the women. But this was part of my experience that really disturbed me, even to the level that, I mean, sexual harassment or sexual assault disturbs others. So, I mean, questioning is always important. Being curious is always important, and more importantly, it is very, I think, helpful to be, to be alert and to have more information in this regard. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Farida, for sharing your experience with us. We have a next question from one of the participants. Her name is Isha. She's from Pakistan, Jammu Kashmir. So Isha, if you can please unmute yourself and ask your question directly to our panelists.
First of all, I would like to say thank you so much to all the panelists for sharing their amazing experiences and their work with us. my first question I would like to ask from Farida, as she shared that women from different part of Afghanistan, they were explaining peace meant different things for them. And you also, when you were defining your organization, you said that in the world of politics. So I would like to ask that how would you define peace, and how would you say that what would be a peaceful world like? So can you give a general, definition, because peace is, it has lots of uh, meaning for all of us. So what would be a general definition? And secondly, to Alina, currently I'm conducting a research, and that is experiences of working women in financial institutions in Pakistan. So one thing I have realized is that women, when they have, like, somehow they're managing their jobs, but when they become mothers, and the number of children is more than 2, they tend to have the same guilt feeling. And if that is also aligned with the fact that they're not getting support from their family, they tend to resign from their jobs just to compensate for the guilt, or to compensate for the time that they are unable to give to the children. So how we can give, women this, how can we empower women who are in this situation where they're not able to either afford nannies, or they're unable to have support from their families, and they are just bound to resign for this fact? So how can we actually empower them? And then the third question is general to all the panelists, and that is that during my research, I also realized that there is narrative that women is a lesser gender, or women are weak mentally and physically, or women are known as evil. So this is a narrative. But unfortunately, what I have realized is that it's not just general narrative. Women sometimes also come to believe into this. And they have this feeling that women are against women, and women is the one who is going to harm you the most. So this is the feeling that is coming from a fellow women. And we are talking about circle of ladies, women empowering each other, women supporting each other. So how we can eliminate this basic feeling where women are thinking that the woman is their biggest enemy? So this question is open for all the panelists, and thank you so much.
Let's have Farida answer your question about what peace actually means, and followed by Alina, and then your general question can be directed towards our other 2 panelists, Tian and Anum. How about that? So Farida can start with the answer.
Thanks so much, Isha, for the question. And I do feel so connected with the people from Pakistan, because I lived my childhood as a refugee in 𝙀𝙀, Pakistan. So thanks so much. So in terms of, regardless of how peace is defined in the academic pieces, so for me personally, peace means acceptance. So you accept the differences, you accept different backgrounds or experiences of people, regardless of their race, regardless of their ethnicity, or anything related to them. So, to be short, peace means acceptance to me. And how a peaceful world look to me is again aligned with what I have defined peace. So, when different corners of the world accept each other in different levels, regardless of, the country, or regardless of the context of that particular part of the world. So, at that time, I can say that the world is peaceful. So peace means acceptance to me, not only on the family or societal level, but also on the global level as well, and international level as well. Thank you. I hope this can help you.
It does indeed. Can we have the next question answered by Ms. Alina?
Sure. Thank you very much, Esha, for your question. And to be honest, for me, it's still a challenge, because constantly I'm feeling guilt about spending a lot of time at work and sometimes not seeing how my child is growing, especially when I'm going on a business trips or preparing projects till night. And it really breaks my heart to do so, but I understand the necessity. And for that question, I would like to answer from my personal experience, because I cannot talk about other people. For me, what helped the most when I talked to my colleague, she is a very successful manager at financial institution, and she has the very same issue. And she told me that it's fine, that one time she accepted the fact that she cannot be a perfect mother, that she cannot combine all of it, but she's doing her best. And she had to talk to the psychologist who explained her the situation and helped her to find strength inside to talk to her family members. So I tried to do the same, and it really made my relationship with my parents better. And I asked them to be a team so that they can support me from that side, and I will support them from the other side. But I think the sisterhood that we talked about earlier would really help, so that people, so that women understand that it's fine to be a working mom, it's fine to be a mom who is spending all her time with children. Because usually these two categories, they don't like each other. Working moms, they deep inside, they feel guilty for not spending enough time with their children. Mothers who are on the maternity leave think that they are missing out something on the business world or from the career side, and they tend to, let's say, hate the working moms. And what we do, we don't help each other. We blame each other, we judge each other, and it doesn't help. We need to support each other as women. We need to promote the image of different mothers in the media. We need to show that mother is not necessarily someone who is there 24/7 next to the child. Mothers can be different. Mothers can be working, mothers could be at home, mothers could be strict, mothers could be loving and caring. All mothers are different. And the only thing that is common, that we're doing our best for our children. And we want to give the best to our children for their future. So I think we need to provide us in media, we need to create a sisterhood, and maybe in a very difficult cases, we also need to work with the psychological help services. Because sometimes you get so stressed, you don't have the understanding of your loved ones, and this is something that hurts the most. And the only person who can help you is the professional psychologist or a therapist. And I think this help should be affordable to everyone. It should be free, and maybe this is some initiatives that we can create together in our countries. Hope that answered your question. Thank you.
Thank you very, very, very much. And we did get a glimpse of your daughter as well, and we are really sure that you are doing an amazing job on her, and we really hope that she grows up to be as amazing as you. And thank you for touching upon the other question that she asked. So I think we would leave further answering that question because of the time limitation. So we'll move on towards the last question that we have today in the comment section. The question is asked by Rashi Agarwal from Kathmandu Hub, and her question is directed towards Farida Amiri. She asks, what are the two things as per you that could motivate the current generation in Afghanistan and empower the women or Afghan youth to come forward and take hold of their lives? Can you hear us, Farida?
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay, cool. So thank you so much for the question. I think one of the key factor is the comparison of the population of the young generation with the young generation, for instance, decades ago. So, we are the majority population of the country, the young generation, and that can be one of the key factors towards how, to which extent we can be hopeful, not only, when it comes to our personal issues, but also rather on the country level or on the, I would say, society level. And second thing is that how we have, the young generation who had the chance to be exposed to any other opportunities beyond the border of the country, they have the passion, they have the courage, and they have also the opportunity to share those experiences and, I would say, those insights with the other young generation, with their fellow young generation. So I mean, so there is still the passion, so there is still the hope. And one example can be, for instance, that I initiated Peace Friends, and one of the only reason was that there has to be platform. I mean, whatsoever I experienced, not only on the national level, but also on the international level, so I have to share them with others. So in order to inspire them, in order to encourage them, and in order to somehow spread the positivity, spread the, I mean, hope among the generation. And I hope this can answer your question.
Thank you very much, Farida. It indeed does answer the question. So we are closing the Q&A for now, but in case you still want to ask further questions from our panelists, they will be leaving their contact details in the chat section, along with the social media handles of both the Scholar Network and Chadari project, where you can network with Scholar members or Chadari, or the people who are working on the Chadari project, so you can further get your questions answered. Now, as we're drawing to the close of today's event, let's reflect on the fact that although the celebration for Women's Day is done to highlight the issue of gender equality, but more often than not, we see that the term feminism is becoming synonymous with hating men or gender supremacy of women. If there is one thing that each of us who are passionate about this issue should strive for, is to not let this narrative get distorted like this. For the record, feminism or any other movement for women's rights is about the belief that men and women should have equal rights and opportunities. It is the theory of social, economic, and political equality of both genders. Such celebrations like Women's Day can only be meaningful when debate for equal opportunities to the women in all walks of life is actually producing results. So we should all strive for not getting the narrative distorted into something which it actually is not. So when we talk about women's rights, it essentially is a talk about human rights. So it can never, ever be irrelevant. But shifting this focus of this movement decreases its efficacy. So if someone still chooses to hear the word, please bear in mind that it is not the word that is important, but the idea behind it. And as civilized human beings, we should all be advocates of human rights, and hence the supporters of equal opportunities for all. We as youth leaders are drivers of change, and each one of us has it in us to drive a change, because although we might be fortunate enough to have our basic rights, but not all the women in this world are enjoying the same rights. So again, at the end of the panel discussion today, I'd like to thank all of the panelists for joining us today, our moderator, and the leader and the leading lady of Scholar Network, one of the co-founders, Vika. And most importantly, I'm addressing all of the women who joined today to celebrate yourself today on this Women's Day, because all of you are more powerful than you think. On behalf of Scholar Network and Chadari Project, we wish you a very, very happy Women's Day, and thank you all for attending today's event.
Thank you, everyone.
Yeah, thank you. It was really lovely. And we also had the idea, along with the answers of from all of you, that we should next time invite men and talk about feminism. And let's see what they have to say. And one of our team
word, as Kola said, we should change the name something else, because people have a misconception about this, around this word.
Yeah. And Salman, who is part of our org team, he said that we should talk about what was that, manism, because men got their own problems too. Thank you so much. It was wonderful. And I hope we can all keep in touch. And guys, thank you all for coming, participating, attending, being active, and showing that you care. Happy Women's Day.
Happy Women's Day. And don't forget to copy the contacts in case you want to reach out to any of the panelists, or you want
Happy Women's Day.
Happy Women's Day, everyone. And we share the social media pages of Scholar Network and also Chadari, so that you will learn, you'll have the opportunity to learn more. It was a wonderful session. Thank you, everyone, for joining, and happy Women's Day.
Thank you, ladies. Nice to meet you all.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Bye-bye.
Shukai, I think you can end the meeting for all as a host.
Hi guys, happy Women's Day.
Happy Women's Day. Thank you.